Our session today is going to be moderated by Amy Millard, Chief Marketing Officer for Mindjet, and featuring Arun Purkayastha, Innovation Expert and VP of Consulting Services at CGI. Arun brings extensive experience in innovation in both telco and government, and he's now applying this background to his current leadership role in CGI's Investment Management Group. Today, he will share how CGI is taking a crowdsourced approach to solving global business challenges on behalf of their clients, resulting in more cross-company collaboration, greater idea diversity, and stronger, more valuable outcomes for their international client base. So I'll be turning this over to Amy and Arun soon, but I first wanted to just give the audience some tips for interacting with our speakers. If at any time during the webinar you have a question, please ask it using the chat function within GoToWebinar. So you'll see a button to your right with a panel that says questions. We'll be collecting those questions, and following the presentation, we'll have a 15-minute Q&A period, and we'll answer your questions at that time. We'll also be recording our webinar session and sending the recording via email to all participants. Now let me pass the mic to Amy first to get us started.
Thanks, Melissa, and welcome everyone. We've got some, Arun has prepared some very interesting content today that I think people are going to be excited to hear. As Melissa mentioned, I'm joined by Arun Purkayastha. Sorry, Arun. Welcome. We're excited to have you join us. Wanted to give everybody just a brief background on Mindjet and Spigit. Spigit is the most widely deployed innovation platform globally. We're pleased to have 4.5 million users in 150 countries and the #1 market share in innovation management. And where that comes from, next slide, is we work with the Fortune 500, and we're pleased to help our customers drive over $1 billion in top-line growth and over 200 patents so far applied for. We work with leading pharmaceutical and technology companies, financial services and insurance, and leading trust and brands such as P&G, Macy's, both Coke and Pepsi. And today we're pleased to share that we work very closely with CGI, a truly innovative practice that they have, and I think you guys are going to learn a lot from today's webinar. Arun, can you tell us some, give the audience some background on CGI and what the innovation practice there does?
Thank you very much. Okay, excellent, thank you. So CGI, we have 68,000 professionals operating in 40 countries, and we foster local accountability for client success while bringing global delivery capabilities to our clients' front doors. We were founded in 1976, and CGI implies innovative services and solutions with a disciplined delivery approach that has achieved an industry-leading track record of delivering 95% of our projects on time and within budget. Our business consulting, system integrations, and managed services help clients leverage current investments while adopting technology and business strategies that achieve top and bottom line results. As a demonstration of our commitment, our client satisfaction score consistently measures 9 out of 10 in the past 10 years. We're the world's fifth largest independent IT and BPS firm with a $10 billion in annual revenues. Next slide, please. Harnessing and sharing innovative ideas, services, and solutions for the benefits of our clients is a key part of our business strategy. The ICE program, Innovation, Creativity, and Experimentation, helps generate, assess, and fund the best ideas that create value for our clients, shareholders, and members. This program is overseen through executive sponsorship at global and local levels. It incents and rewards participation and is supported by an ideation collaboration site provided by Spigit Engage. In addition, the program includes dashboards and metrics to provide visibility and accountability into our ability to innovate to the benefits of our stakeholders. At any moment across the company, we have ICE program call to actions taking place whereby we pose a business challenge or opportunity to our members, whether it be in relation to an industry, a service, or a new technology, and ask for the ideas and contributions for those ideas from our members for a solution. These ideas are then evaluated and reviewed for funding of prototypes and demos. It's been almost 24 years since we launched the ICE program, and in that time we've run 38 challenges, or call to actions as we call them in CGI. And we've generated over 2,000 ideas. To add to that, we've co-funded 21 projects in the last 24 months. But we didn't start the ICE program from scratch. The ICE program's current success is due to the lessons that we learned from running our previous innovation program, which was called the Excellence in Innovation Awards program. That program was designed to reward members for developing innovative intellectual property assets, such as reusable methodologies, business processes, and software. Members would submit their reusable assets, provided CGI owned the IP, to a site much like SourceForge. And other members would be asked to vote and comment on the assets that they downloaded for reuse. Each year, a panel would meet to review the submissions and select the top submissions for awards in one of 5 categories. That program ran for around 6 years and collected over 900 reusable assets and had over 10,000 downloads. This retrospective innovation program had its limitations, though. 2 of the main drawbacks was that, one, it lacked transparency, and the second was that it was always difficult to keep the assets up to date without a clear ownership by the BUs. So when we went to update our innovation program, we decided to take the learnings from this program and pair it with a set of core principles to create our new ICE program. Some of the principles were that we engage our clients in pursuit of innovation. We emphasize the quality of what we do over the number of innovations we produce. Innovations help differentiate CGI and in turn helps us grow our revenues and margins. We encourage our members to generate innovative ideas and reward them for their participation and creativity. And we work cooperatively with innovative partners and external innovation groups to draw upon the best and brightest ideas for innovation applicable to our services, solutions, and client needs. When we created the ICE program, we recognized that sometimes we may need to have more than slideware to get interest from our clients to fund innovative ideas. We figured that we needed to first focus on creating a way to manage and fund these client-relevant innovations. As additional incentives, we also decided to provide a light touch process to make co-funding available for the development of proof of concepts and demos. In order to make this a truly enterprise program, we knew we also needed a tool that would allow us to crowdsource the idea generation and provide a way for our members and our experts to collaborate and assess which of these ideas submitted were the most innovative ideas. We left the decision-making on which innovations to bring forth for co-funding up to the BUs and SBUs. And SBUs we use, it's strategic business units, and they're organized geographically within CGI. Finally, we also knew that by embracing a decentralized model, we would require an innovation community to be fostered by each SBU in order to sustain the growth of the innovation program. In order to achieve this, we had our senior management from each of the SBUs nominate innovation champions to run the ICE program at the local level. I call this my idealized ICE process diagram. It shows the end-to-end process, but does not do a great job in telling you how we run our call to actions. So I'll first walk you through this quickly, and then get into the details in the next set of slides. Members submit their ideas, and have other members collaborate and experts assess their ideas. Each SBU select the top ideas for co-funding based on their strategic objectives as well as their client needs. We use a 50-50 model for co-funding, and each SBU must approve their part prior to it being presented to the Innovation Council. If a proposal is approved, it is up to each BU to decide how they will develop their proof of concept or demo and to present it to their clients for feedback. All the while, each BU must report on the progress of their project and return to the Innovation Council to give an update once the project has been completed. They also may return for additional funding. We don't have any hard or fast rules in terms of how many times teams may come back to the Innovation Council for additional funding, but there is a bit of a gray line where teams have demonstrated enough that the project is viable, then to be brought into our intellectual property management framework, which is how we develop our commercial products. So what you see here is how our call to action stages are set up in Spigit Engage. The first two stages are the crowd contribution and collaboration stage. All our members are encouraged to post their ideas, and then the crowd votes and comments on these ideas. The best ideas are graduated based on the feedback from the crowd, and also when all of the thresholds are met. The third stage is a bit of an interesting stage for us. We call it the litmus test. We use this to determine whether or not the idea owner is able to synthesize and improve upon the initial idea based on the feedback from the members. This kind of tests out whether or not that member is both capable of improving upon their ideas as well as willing to improve upon their ideas and take that constructive criticism that our members had given them and take that forward. If they complete that, then it's on to the expert evaluation stage, where we ask our subject matter experts who've been identified as experts for the call to action to score the ideas. The experts score the submission, and it must meet a minimum average score in order to be considered a candidate to move on to the next stage. Typically, stage 4 is where we end most of our call to actions. Now, we've had some call to actions that have run longer and have actually gotten all the way up to stage 7, but usually most of our call to actions take place between 5 to 6 weeks, and up to stage 4 we feel normally is a really good amount of time to get in a lot of comments and feedback from the members, as well as gives our members, our experts, enough time to evaluate the top ideas. The next two stages, 5 and 6, are dependent on the BU processes. But the common thread for all BUs is for them to create a funding proposal for a proof of concept or a demo based on the submitted idea. Each BU then uses their existing management committees and processes to select the best candidates to be presented to the Innovation Council on stage 7 for co-funding. The Innovation Council meets on a monthly basis, and its members are drawn from BU leads from across CGI. Since the ICE program is a decentralized program, we wanted to ensure that there was consistency across the company when it comes to call to actions. We set out to create a repeatable process that any team could pick up easily and use to start their own call to action. And everyone likes to see that there are only 5 easy steps to launching their call to action. A key point, though, is that each one must be completed prior to launching the call to action. I have a weekly status that shows all of our planned call to actions for the quarter and the target dates for each step. That helps keep things go on track and sometimes avoid conflict between various BUs or maybe sub-BUs that want to do call to actions at the same time. One of the most important steps is number 3, identifying and training your experts. We have put a lot of emphasis on this point, as we've seen that there is a direct correlation between the success of the call to action and the level of expert participation. We've had a few call to actions that haven't had the training completed prior to launching, and when the call to action ended, we did see the type of results that we typically would have seen. It's really become apparent to us that even during the first few days after the launch of a call to action, it is important to get our experts starting to participate right away. By having someone who can give you constructive feedback on ideas, it helps to create a sense of community and ultimately pays dividends later on when it comes to assessing the overall quality of the submission that makes it to the later stages. We've even created a custom report to tell us what experts have participated on a weekly basis, and we share this information with the sponsor of the call to action. One of the main sources that we use to help us define our call to action questions comes from our annual client review interviews. As you can see, we conducted 965 in-person interviews covering 10 industries in 17 countries in 2015. We also had almost an even breakdown between business and IT members who participated in those interviews. Each of the BUs is responsible for defining their own questions, but sometimes reach out to other BUs or industry councils to help shape and or approve the wording of their question. We also found that having, if you can stay there, thank you, that having a set communication timeline really helped our team stay on track as well. As you can see here, this is one of our typical timelines that we had at the beginning of our program to roll it out in Canada. Right from the start, the first message was from the Canadian SBU president. This established the credibility and demonstrated that this was a program that senior management was promoting. The next message came from the BU leaders and explained the call to action, and most importantly, helped the members understand what is in it for them. And I can't stress the last point enough. Finally, don't forget to communicate the outcome and next steps in a timely manner. That is a real key to improving the overall participation going forward for the call to actions, as well as to ensure that the members, especially if you're launching something newly, understand that this isn't just another kind of program that doesn't have any backing behind it, or they don't understand what the outcomes are because it's being expressed to them right away. At the close of the call to action, they know what the outcome is, and they're really, and it becomes very important for them in, like as I said, going forward and building up the belief that their ideas are actually going to be evaluated and there's going to be a positive outcome from it. So, an example of one of the call to actions and impacts that we had was around smart cities. One of our members in the Nordics who works on the QA team had installed solar cells on her home, and it had taken her almost a year from installing it to working her way through on the process to selling her electricity back to the utility companies. She thought there has to be a better way to do this. So when she heard that there was a call to action on smart cities, she decided to enter her idea. She received great feedback from the crowd, and the experts gave her idea very high scores during the reviews. When it came time for her to develop her funding proposal, she was teamed with our utilities experts to help her improve on her original idea and to help her create a proposal for the proof of concept. She presented the idea to the Innovation Council and also had a member of the utilities team on the line as a technical backup, just in case, but she never needed it. The proposal was co-funded and has received overwhelmingly positive feedback from our clients during a recent user forum. This example typifies how the ICE program encourages our members to generate innovative ideas. As she was not a typical technical member, without a program like ICE, her idea may have never seen the light of day. Another recent call to action was on cybersecurity. We generated 43 ideas in just 18 days and had hundreds of votes and comments from the crowd. We had 30% of our ideas advancing to the expert evaluation stage, which was almost twice what we typically see. We attribute the number of ideas making it to the expert evaluation stage due to the focus on getting our experts to actively participate in the first two stages. I can't stress this enough, that the earlier the feedback and the more constructive that it is, the more likely you will have ideas making it to the later stages. And you will also see that the quality of ideas being assessed will improve as well. And some recommendations and best practices for you on the call today. Number one, internal alignment. Ensure that there's alignment from top down to help improve the sense of community and participating during your challenge. Identify knowledgeable experts. It's important to the success of the challenge that the experts identified to participate are knowledgeable subject matter experts in the topic related to the challenge. Make sure that they are trained and that they're committed to participating, as there's no sense in having great SMEs identified if they don't log in and participate. Use reports to create competition within your organization. Don't be afraid to create a bit of friendly rivalry between the teams or business units. Nearly all of the top call to actions have utilized some sort of weekly challenge or prize. Some have even awarded trophies to the top participating business units. Weekly communications. Set up a schedule of weekly communications. Post interesting information like what's trending to entice members to participate. Try to be creative, as we're all swamped these days with notifications and emails. Use things like infographics instead of a typical email, or better yet, post the infographic directly to some of your internal sites, or even on your member walls if they have such an internal tool. We even had a team use QR codes to help our members download the Spigit Engage app to participate in the call to action. Rewards and recognition. Be sure to remember to stress the what's in it for me when promoting both your program and during each challenge. And that wraps up my presentation. So I think we're over onto the QA side.
Yes, Arun, thank you so much. That was fantastic information and really valuable insights. So we have a couple questions from the audience already, and Amy, I know you have a couple questions for Arun as well. So let's have you get started. So just a reminder to the audience to please submit your questions, and let's give everyone a couple more minutes now that the presentation portion is over to get those questions in. Amy?
So, Arun, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much. One question I had as I was thinking about it is, Spigit customers generally focus in on three key areas of innovation, three types of innovation.
Yeah.
Process improvement, cost savings, and breakthrough innovation, or what we call breakthrough innovation, which could be like new products, new markets. Does your ICE innovation practice focus on specific kinds of innovation?
Actually, we don't really focus on a set of specific kinds of innovation. We've really kind of opened it up to the BUs to determine what they ask their members around their call to actions. But primarily, we've gotten a lot of breakthrough innovation type of call to actions in the past. But that doesn't say that we haven't had a few ideas that have come through around process improvement or even cost savings as well. We also have a team in Asia Pacific that just recently launched a continuous improvement program using the Spigit Engage platform. But it was configured in a slightly different manner than what we use for a call to actions. It was done in a community manner that is always open. And they've already had a lot of success in the last few months since it's been running. And our global team has learned a lot about how to configure and launch these communities. And we're also looking to leverage this knowledge when we launch some of our additional ICE initiatives next year. Does that work?
Yeah, that's really interesting. One other question that I often get is from the heads of innovation is, as they're thinking about rolling out their own programs, what are the best metrics for the innovation office? How do you measure the success of an innovation project, and how would you recommend that a chief innovation officer think about the metrics of their program?
Well, I have to say that one's always one of the, it's always one of the tough ones to kind of answer. I remember my boss, as well as our executive sponsors, challenging myself at the beginning of the process of developing the ICE program as to kind of what would be the metrics that we have. And one of the things that we really wanted to focus on right from the start was more around the overall health of the program, really to understand whether or not it was being adopted throughout the organization, if the members were understanding how it was being rolled out, they were participating in it, and ultimately that the ideas were starting to flow through and get into the Innovation Council and looking for co-funding. So we really wanted to focus first around getting that program successful and kind of really embedded into the day-to-day lives of our members. So some of the things that we try to work on was weekly reports. So I already mentioned one about, the pre-launching status of our call to actions. We also have a weekly in-progress status that we send out to all of our executives so that they're aware of how the current in-progress call to actions are going. It also serves as a way of kind of poking each other in the, subtly in terms of, hey, look, we're doing better than you. So once again, creates a little bit of competition amongst them all. As well as we also have an overall program dashboard that's updated each time a call to action ends. And for each call to action, we also have a specific wrap-up report that includes a breakdown of ideas per stage by organization levels, either it be department or BU levels, the expert participation, and the percentage of ideas with comments and votes, just to kind of, use a few examples from that. We also wanted to make sure that when the submissions were coming in, that we were setting ourselves up for a little bit of success later on. So we did ask them to provide a 6, a 12, and a 24-month outlook for our benefits, either it be via revenues or savings as part of that proposal. So far, we've only used this, as I mentioned, as guidance and haven't tracked it officially. But I think as we are maturing with our program, we're going to start seeing us going back to some of these teams and looking at that and saying, okay, so how are we doing, and using that as a gauge for the success. And then finally, we also track each of our co-funded projects on a monthly basis, more from a project management due diligence type of piece, as well as to ensure that we have that interco chargeback happening for the 50-50 co-funding. And as I mentioned before, at the end of each project, they do have to come back to the Innovation Council to report on the results of their project and tell us what their feedback was from the clients and whether or not that project was a success or a failure, or, what was the client's feedback. And, sometimes it's been good, sometimes it's been, oh yeah, we need to do some more work, and we've learned a lot from that. So, that really is what the metrics that we've been focusing in from our project, from our innovation office.
I really like the idea of having a client-centered metric like that. That's a really good feedback. Another thing, I noticed recently that Gartner released a report on the future of IT and the enterprise, and said their belief is that crowdsourced innovation and idea management will be widely adopted within 2 years. Do you agree with Gartner? What's your perspective, Arun?
Well, I really honestly have to say that I agree with Gartner, but I'll admit that I'm a bit biased when it comes to crowdsourcing innovation and idea management. As I mentioned before, we already had a tool that kind of already had that as part of our previous innovation program. And also I was responsible for being part of a team that implemented a collaboration platform within CGI almost a decade ago. We may have been a little bit ahead of our curve when we did that, but it did help shape our requirements when it came for us to looking for a tool to use for the ICE program. So we do know that our members want to participate, and they're also used to doing it outside of the office. So they expect the same inside the enterprise. They also like the transparency that the Spigit Engage tool gives them in terms of seeing where the ideas are in the various stages, as well as what the experts have reviewed, the scoring that the experts have given on the various ideas that they've reviewed. I know over the course when we do a training, we've had sometimes experts say, will everyone see my scoring, know that I scored it, and see my feedback? And, we tell them right away that that's exactly something that we wanted to do. That was one of the criticisms that we had from our previous innovation program, that lack of transparency, where our members would, each year after we announced the winners of our old innovation program, we'd always end up getting the same questions, which is, why was this asset selected over the other? How come mine stayed there? How come it wasn't? So the way that the Spigit Engage tool is done really helps us, avoid those types of questions, and really, enables our members to clearly see where their ideas are at any time and know what it will take to get it to the next stage. And I have to say that that's a powerful motivator for many of our members who participate in the call to actions. They know that if both the crowd and the experts rate their idea highly, that they have a chance to get it co-funded.
That's great. Thank you, Arun. I've got some additional questions, but I wanted to actually hand it over to Melissa to allow for some questions from the audience, and then I'll wrap up with a question or two.
Sure.
Yeah, Arun, so there's a number, to what you were just talking about, there's a number of questions around how you first got started with the current iteration of your ICE program.
Yes.
And you know, sort of why you decided on the enablement tools that you chose.
Right.
So maybe one way to tell that was an interesting question about, you know, sort of what the first challenge or initiative was that you made through ICE on your new platform.
Well, the first one, we actually had a global technology council that in CGI that came up with a question around around the convergence of mobility, cloud computing, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, the Internet of Things. And that was the first question that we went out to our members to. So it was sponsored by the Global Technology Council. They were looking for new and innovative ideas that we could have for developing either new solutions or services around this kind of this confluence of ideas of technologies that were coming together. And that was, as I mentioned, that was the first one that we did, and it was in our pilot stage. And that really did help us establish that this was something that worked for us. It worked in our organization, and really helped us determine that this was the tool for us to go forward with. And also convinced us to go with that challenge model, as opposed to, we were both kind of at the beginning kicking around whether or not we wanted to go with more of a community-based or more of a challenge-based ideation program to start off with, to kind of ease our members in. And that really, you know, that focus where you could go out, ask a question, know that there's a timeline, and at the end of it, realize that there was, you know, an evaluation and a winner would be picked, really did help us, you know, select then the Spigit platform for that.
Great. Great. So there's a couple questions around internal alignment, which was something that you spoke with regards to your work with BUs. Can you give an example of how you work with your BUs and to sort of, you know, internally align with them and sell them on what's in it for them?
For sure. One of the things, once again, when we were starting this off, and that decentralized model is kind of what shaped our thinking around this, was really to have those innovation champions at the local level and make sure that they had that support. And that's why we asked for them to be nominated by their senior management of their particular business units. So they knew that they had the faith of their management, and they were able to then run the local programs. In addition, we knew that in order to keep everyone aligned, we needed to create that community of practice for them. So what we do is we run a monthly Innovation Champion call, in addition to the Innovation Council call, but just strictly for the Innovation Champions that are doing the day-to-day running of the project and the program at the local level, to share the best practices with the other, to also talk about certain technologies that are coming up, you know, other client initiatives that are happening, as well as also to talk about and share and review the proposals that have come in and have successfully gotten funded from the Innovation Council, to also create a little bit more of from a knowledge management standpoint, to kind of improving the overall maturity of the types of proposals coming in, and so that they can share that with their members directly as they're developing the proposals.
Got it. That's great. So two more questions or types of questions. A couple of folks had similar questions. One was around who can participate. So have your challenges always included just sort of an internal employee crowd, or have you explored or are thinking about exploring co-innovating with customers or partners or other people around your business?
Sure. Right now, it's been our internal employees, and all employees have been open. Now, each team determines when they're doing their call to action who that audience is. So sometimes some teams say, oh, look, we're going to be doing it specifically for our business unit. We really have a specific set of unique client requirements from our geography, and we know that, and our members know that well, so we want to restrict it a little bit more, and others have done it a little bit more broader. And in fact, we're going out and having, once again, most of them have been done in that manner. Just in early May, we started a external client call to action, where what we did is we had our members come up with ideas, and then had our client come in with a small number of experts to assess those ideas and help our experts assess those ideas, because the clients have a different perspective on those ideas sometimes, and there's also sometimes a little bit in terms of they also know, what their organization is interested in promoting from their perspective. So it really helped us balance out the types of ideas that we would be selecting as the winning ideas by having our experts from both our team and the client's team pop in for an evaluation of that. And that's something I think that we're looking at doing more in the coming year.
Great. So another question was around incentives. You mentioned an awards program. So there were a couple of questions around the structure of that program and what type of incentives are offered and how you drive engagement.
Sure. Incentives, what we quickly, at first we had okay, we're going to look at it maybe from a global level, but when we started talking with our HR teams and started getting down to trying to do the implementation, we quickly realized that there were different rules for different geographies. Different countries had different types of incentives that monetary values and things like that. So we very quickly downloaded that to the local innovation champions and their HR teams to determine what would work best for them. So in Canada, for example, what we've done is during the call to actions, many of our there is a random draw of the top innovators or the top commenters on a weekly basis for a thing like a $50 gift certificate to the Best Buy, and then the overall top one at the end of the call to action would potentially win, the top contributor in terms of feedback and voting and things like that would potentially win would win a $200 gift certificate to Best Buy. Other countries have done things more around exposing members to, giving them the types of plaques and having them meeting senior management. And you can't say enough about recognition from being able to have those members of the winning ideas present their winning ideas to the senior management of their business units. So typically, most of the business units have either a cabinet or a monthly meeting with all of their senior level staff, and most of them use that as an opportunity to have the winning ideas proposals presented to them during that. So, recognition just from the sheer fact of access to senior management is also something that you can't overlook.
So I'm going to wrap up with two final questions. So for the audience, I know that many of them are thinking about establishing their organization. So what are your key recommendations for a new Chief Innovation Officer? What do you think, Arun, they should do first, second? What should they focus on? Well,
I mean, I know corporate culture varies by organization, and that's always something that it can be difficult to say that this is the first thing to do, but I do, and I've already stressed this a few times, really is having that support and commitment from their senior management about what their objectives are for their innovation program when they're starting it out. I know it sounds really almost a bit kind of motherhood type of statement, but it it really does help when you're starting off to have that buy-in to help overcome some of those bumps, and you will have bumps in the road that you may experience when implementing your program. So I really do think having that strong alignment from them would be the first thing to do. And the second, I know maybe this might be, you know, once again, my bias, but we really did try to create an innovation baseline for our organization right from the get-go. So right after we completed that our very first ICE pilot after the Global Technology Call to Action, we went out and surveyed our members. And we've been using that each and every year, and we've been using the same questions and then adding to it, but so that we can kind of create that baseline and see how the program is being perceived by our members, getting that feedback, and using that to address a number of changes you know, each year in terms of improving the overall program. And so far this year, you know, last year we made a few minor changes that we found based on the last survey. And I think this year, one of the key ones was having more emphasis on getting those experts in earlier. And as I mentioned all the way through the previous presentation, that really has paid off for us. So it's had a positive impact both on the quality and quantity of our ideas getting into the call to actions.
And so it's my final question, Arun. Where do you see the future for your ICE program? What are the sort of future ideas you have that you can share with the audience? Nothing super secret.
Well, you know, I know, and you know, I think the key here is, I know that we're going to continue to run our quarterly SBU call to actions. We are really trying to emphasize more around the global call to actions. Even though we had started off with that first global technologies call to action, we had really been focusing more on the BUs and SBUs, and we really do want to get back to having the global call to actions. And we're really making a number of changes to help us scale that in order to ensure that it will be a success for us moving forward. We also had created, you know, a broader innovation ecosystem that we had defined as part of our ICE program roadmap when we first started off. And we really had a 3-year view of that. And next fiscal year, we have 2 more initiatives that we have on tap that I'm really excited to launch. And one of them I've already alluded to, which is around the client early access, getting the clients in, and really starting to focus around, you know, doing that external client side. And another one, really, I'm not able to really speak about it, nor because we still need a little bit more around approval from our executive steering committee before I think we can kind of start talking about launching of that one.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Arun, for a really interesting and substantive conversation today, and for showing us how your innovation program has grown. My perspective is that it's one of the leading programs I've ever seen, and so I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with Spigit and to share some of your learnings with the audience. So thank you very much.
Yes, and thanks to our active audience today. I know we didn't get to everyone's questions, so we'll be following up with you individually if needed. For those of you with a few Spigit product-specific questions, you can find more information at spigit.com, or you can also reach out to us directly for a demo request. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next month for our September webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks.